afternoon, people. My name is Dion Robinson, and I am back with you with another podcast, which is episode 7. In this podcast, I will continue the story structure plot diagram, which is the last of this series for that, which will be Act 3, I will be discussing in this show. Before I get started, I would like to say that visit my website, drobinsonmedia.com. That is drobinsonmedia.com. You can find the latest information, the latest updates, and also check out my bookstore, which I have posted there for your viewership. So now let's get started. Last podcast, which was episode 6, I discussed Act 2 and showed you I kind of broke down the diagram of what that consists of. And not only that, I showed you an outline, which can help you guide you along with your story writing, which is a process which, majority of writers take, which I think all writers should take into account when they want to write a good, decent story. As for me, I know I do it all the time because it helps me keep focused. So, saying that, so let's get started. As I said in the last two podcasts, that you normally would break up your your story. As I said before, Act 1 is 25%, Act 2 is 50, and Act 3 is 25%. In Act 3, I will show you the other 25%. Act 3 takes place after the second turning point. As you can see, we have two major points, which is conflict and resolution. Now, in the third act, um, as we know, all good stories must come to an end. And what better way to give it a memorable way to go? And when I say that conflict in your screenplay will help you determine, what the outcome of the story will be. And so, pretty much, what is conflict? Conflict is basically like, it's like I say the either the external or the internal battle between the main characters, as far as protagonists or antagonists, or um, it could be a conflict within self, as in battling the antagonist and protagonist ideas which the person may have within themselves. So pretty much in a conflict, the main character, the protagonist, decides to confront the situation. Um, he figures out he has nothing to lose. He must get this out the way and be done with the situation. Now, a resolution is basically is the ending of the story, and like I said, all stories must come to an end, and resolution will show the outcome of that ending. Now, as far as the outline, I kind of added another. How can I put it? But I didn't really add anything. I just basically just wrote things down where things could go in Act Three. Now that we all know that in the first act, the first and second act, Joseph's wife left him, and his main, as you can see in Act Three, I kind of like did like I did with the second act. I did did a quick outline, showing you what the roadmap to my story could be. Now, as I stated in the first two podcasts with Act One and Act Two, um, pretty much Joseph had a driving force that his wife left him, and the turning point too. He just the first turning point. He decided to go back, and he decided try to get his wife back, and act So this leads us to the turning point two, the second turning point. Joseph decides to say, hey, you know what? It's all or nothing. I got to do this. Now, when I talked with you in the last podcast, I was thinking about either Joseph wins his wife back or he goes after Michiko. So as you can see here in the outline, basically said after Joseph wins in a situation, he decides to confront Alberto and Valencia. And basically, if you look through this podcast, you can pause it if you want to. You can see the ideas I have written down, which can be used. However, it's not concrete. This is just something I kind of written out of my head. Let this be the conflict of the story because Joseph wants resolution with, uh, not resolution, but he wants closure with his brother and his ex-wife. So so what I did here is like after the conflict happened, I kind of added with with the second idea that Joseph looks for Michiko because he's trying to get her back because he realizes that she is his true love. And you know, and like I said, it's nothing's concrete here, but this is only just to give you a quick idea. So, saying that, this podcast is kind of short, I know, but I'm going to have to end it here. But what I'm going to do is this: I am going to put a lot of links in here for screenplay books that I have read, a few I have read myself, and some others that after reading the details, I feel like you may benefit from it, especially if it has 4 or 5 stars. So check that out, and and get some knowledge on how get some more knowledge besides my own. So take care, have a beautiful day, and peace.